Hi there, Frank Flegg here, founder of Ethical Property Partners, where we help you to make annual returns on your property on a monthly basis. So this is episode 3 of our series of 5 episodes on the marketing strategies you should be using right now in order to be finding motivated vendors and therefore sophisticated deals. If you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, I'd recommend you go back and watch those first. But in our last episode, we covered how you can build relationships with estate agents in order to get the best below market value deals or sophisticated deals that require none or very little of your own money. In this episode, I want to talk to you about a different type of relationship building, and that is networking. Now, networking has been phenomenal for my business. I've talked about it on the channel before, but from the perspective of finding motivated vendors, having a team of people who know what you do and are looking out for opportunities for you on a weekly basis is absolutely unbeatable. So, how do you find a team of people that will support you in finding distressed sellers or motivated vendors? The way that I've found most success is to join a close contact, high accountability networking group. Now, networking goes from all the way over here where you turn up once every couple of months, once a quarter, and all the way over to here where you're there every week, you're expected to attend, you're expected to bring business, etc. Now, at this end of the spectrum, you don't have to invest a lot in the relationships, you don't have to invest a lot in the networking group. And remember, the investment in a networking group, an organized networking group, is not the money you pay for the dinner or the breakfast or whatever, or the admission fee. It's the time that you invest in it. So at this end of the spectrum, you've got a fairly lax attitude, you turn up when you want to, and consequently you don't build as strong relationships as at this end where everyone's there very regularly, either weekly or fortnightly. I have found most success at this end, but this end takes more of your time. So some of you know, because I've talked on the channel previously about the fact that I actually ran a BNI region. I ran BNI in Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire for a few years before I started Ethical Property Partners. And in that time, I realised the massive power of a close contact networking group such as the ones at this end of the spectrum, and BNI is a good example. I've only positive things to say about it, although there are other networking groups that I think are equally effective. BNI it stands for Business Network International. It's a global franchise in 50 plus countries, I think, and there will be a BNI meeting close to wherever you live, pretty much anywhere in the world. And if you're considering networking as a strategy, and I'm going to come on to informal networking in a minute, we're talking about formal networking at the moment, but if you haven't been to a networking group, a close contact networking group at this end of the spectrum, I would recommend you go and check out your BNI group, because it's phenomenal in terms of the amount of business that's done. Some groups of 30, 40 businesses are doing several £million of business a year, past referrals between themselves leading to that level of business. And I was getting several deals a year from just turning up and having breakfast once a week, and that's not too bad. You also get great suppliers, you also get referrals for other parts of your business, investors perhaps, people who want to lend money to you, as well as vendors that need to sell you properties. So I would definitely recommend visiting, and always visit before you join. Visit a few before you join. Maybe have a rule that you're going to go see 3 or 4 groups before you join one, and visit some at this end of the spectrum and some at this end, and then decide what's going to work for you. Now, if at the moment you've got plenty of deals, or perhaps you've got a deal and you're doing a development or something, you're thinking, I don't want any more deals, then now's the right time to join a networking group, because it takes time to build those relationships. If you're going every week, it'll obviously be quicker, and we talk about the phrase like, know, trust. The phrase to remember when building rapport and building relationships is know, like, trust. So people need to get to know you, need to know your name, need to know what you do in business, etc. Then they have to like you, and then they have to trust you before they'll do business or before they'll refer business to you. But that is a brilliant way of having a team of people actively looking for opportunities to bring to you for you to buy properties from them. And when our normal marketing strategies aren't working because the market is too buoyant, having that referral team out looking for those opportunities, bringing names and numbers of motivated vendors to you, is absolutely invaluable to you. The other type of networking that you should consider, and everyone should do this, you might decide that you don't want to invest the amount of time that these formal networking groups require. At this end of the spectrum, a BNI group probably requires about 8 hours a week of your investment. It's not just turning up and having breakfast, it's looking for business for the other people in the group, it's sitting down having coffees with people in the group and building those relationships. So maybe 8 hours a week at this end, which is 20% of your working week, so not an insignificant amount of time. And at this end it might be an hour a week if you only meet once a month or something. So those are the formal options, and you might decide they're not for you, and that's absolutely fine. The reason we're doing 5 episodes is so that you can pick the ones that are best for you and leave the ones that you don't fancy doing. The other type of networking that everyone should be doing though is informal networking, and by that I mean letting people know that you are in the business of buying property when the open market doesn't suit someone. And it's important to educate people about that. So what does that mean? You can't say to them, oh, I'm looking for motivated vendors. They're not going to understand what that means. I'm looking for distressed sellers. They're not going to know what that means. So you need to phrase it in such a way that it answers their questions. So what do you do? And you know, we're going into the summer holidays now. You've got your Easter holidays and then your summer holidays. You're going to meet new people on holiday, and one of the most common questions you'll be asked is, oh, so what do you do? You need to have an answer to that explains what you're looking for. And the common example is, you know, chatting to parents around the school gates. Oh, what do you do? So you want to explain what you do for people rather than how you make money. So I invest in property is a really poor answer because it's focused on you. Oh, what do you do, Frank? Oh, I invest in property. The person asking that question and receiving that answer is not going to then recognise an opportunity for me, because that doesn't mean a lot. Invest in property, what kind of property, etc. So contrast that with this answer. So Frank, what do you do? Oh, I buy properties from people who can't sell on the open market. And the reason that's a much better answer is because it's not complete. So what the person asking me that question is likely to say is, oh, what kind of properties then? Or in what way can they not sell on the open market? And then it gives me permission to expand. Oh, I'd buy anything that basically no one else wants to buy. So it might have structural issues, or it might have legal issues. It might require quite a lot of work. It might be that someone wants to sell really quickly if they're going for a separation, or if they're emigrating or moving for work, etc. So I just specialise in awkward properties that people are struggling to sell through the open market, through estate agents. And very succinctly, that was less than 30 seconds, that person has now got their radar. We talk about RAS, reticular activating system. They've now got at the forefront of their mind the fact that I can help their friends and family who are struggling to sell their property. They're focused on who I want to speak to, rather than, oh, I invest in property. Straight in one ear, out the other, and that's it. But Frank can help people who are struggling to sell property. Perfect. Now when someone says, oh, I wish I could sell my house really quickly, or I need money for my business, I wish I could sell one of my properties quickly. Oh, I know someone who can do that. Or, oh, my sales just fallen through because they've found damp in the property, or they've found Japanese knotweed in the garden. If only, you know, I could sell my property. Ah, I know a guy, I've met him at the school gates. Our children go to the same school. I'll tell you what, I'll let him know tomorrow. I'll give him your number and you can give him a bell. All of a sudden, you've got leads coming into you without spending money, without spending loads of time, depending on the type of networking you do. Hopefully that's inspired you to go do some networking. If you get some successes and get some leads, let me know. And until next time, happy investing.